Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
In honor of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, this is the Dissenter's Hope by Alden Sullivan. Never surrender the fight for today, and never give up the dream of a better tomorrow. For this is the Dissenter's hope, that one day, some enlightened day in the future, when truth is given full voice, justice will win the majority, and the bell of freedom will ring with new clarity. For nations and societies are ever threatened by oppressors and would-be despots, new pharaohs with old designs for power and dominion. Never surrender the fight for today, and never give up the vision of a better tomorrow. For the work of liberty can be slow, the ongoing pursuit of equality and love of humankind. This is the Dissenter's hope, that some enlightened day in the future, every call for justice will win the majority, and the plight of freedom will shine with perfect clarity. U'v'chein tzadikim yir'u v'yismachu, v'yisharim ya'alozu v'chasidim b'rina yagilu. And then the righteous will see and rejoice, and the upright will exult, and the pious will rejoice with song. Injustice will have nothing more to say, and wickedness will vanish like smoke when you sweep the rule of evil from the earth.
Hachama merosh ha'ilanot nistalka, bo'u v'netzeh likrat Shabbat hamalka, hinei yoredet Hakadosh haberucha, ve'ima malachim tzva shalom u'menucha. Bo'i, bo'i hamalka, bo'i, bo'i hakala. Shalom aleichem, malachei ha-shalom. The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, you angels of peace.
And Rena Maduro is going to light our Shabbat candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And Cantor Bob is going to lead us in the Kiddush.
You were muting me there. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uv'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, b'yahava u'v'ratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. I'm not spotlighted, but I'm drinking the wine anyway.
When God first summons Moses to action at the burning bush, Moses demurs, citing a speech defect. God needs to assure him that God will be with him and that Aaron will be his spokesman. Apparently, at this point in Moses' history, he is more facile with his hands than with his words. Our first encounter with him as an adult is his killing of a slave master who was mistreating a Hebrew slave. How amazing that a few books into the Torah, we encounter the book of Deuteronomy, all of which is a long speech by Moses. In it, Moses reviews the story of the Israelites leaving Egypt and their wandering through the desert for 40 years. We now come to the conclusion of the book, and lo and behold, Moses has become a poet. Ha'azinu, this week's Torah portion, is the final one we read in the synagogue for Shabbat services. It begins, "Give ear, O heavens, let me speak. Let the earth hear the words I utter. May my discourse come down as the rain, my speech distilled as the dew, like showers on young growth, like droplets on the grass." Very beautiful words.
Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod mos, havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vayishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon. Vayarkidem gemo egel Levanon Sirion, gemo ven remim. Kol Adonai chosev lavodesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kodesh, Kol Adonai yechol el ayalot. V'yechesov yeharot uvehechalo kulo merkavot. Adonai lama bo yashav v'yeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom.
Rabbi Jonathan Sachs tells us that in the glorious song with which Moses addresses the congregation, he invites the people to think of the Torah, their covenant with God, as if it were like the rain that waters the ground so that it brings forth produce. God's word is like rain in a dry land. It brings life. It makes things grow. There's much we can do of our own accord. We can plow the earth and we can plant seeds. But in the end, our success depends on something beyond our control. If no rain falls, there will be no harvest, whatever preparations we make. So it is with Israel. It must never be tempted into the hubris of saying, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. Hatzi Kaddish is next.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה וילמד דברי קדושתו וימליך מלכותו בחייכם וביומכם ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגולה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח וידבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בימה ואמרו אמן.
Baruch is next, the call to worship.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Roll into dark, roll into night. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Oh day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Becomes day, day turns to night.
Okay. I hate being the heavy, but I guess that's what they pay me the big bucks for. It's wonderful that people are putting comments, compliments in the chat. I have gotten complaints about it. It's distracting to some people. Now, it is possible to push your chat over to the side and it won't pop up during the service. However, I realize that it's complicated enough to even get on Zoom in the first place. So I don't want to start giving instructions about how to do that. So I'm going to ask you, and again, I'm so sorry to have to do this. It's not something I would like to do, but enough people have complained about it that I'm going to ask you to please save your comments till the end, because when you chat about something, then it keeps popping up, and then the next person who's singing or whatever doesn't get the attention they deserve, and the prayer doesn't get the attention it deserves. If you want to chat to somebody privately, that's not a problem. That's not going to pop up for everybody. But if you chat to everyone, it pops up on everybody's screen. And we're particularly trying to be careful about this for the high holidays, because there are going to be, 3 times as many people on the Zoom. We're even going to ask people to turn their videos off to enhance the quality of the video and the audio for what we're feeding out. So again, I apologize, because we very much appreciate your comments. Everyone's worked very hard for all these services, but I'm just responding to the comments that I have gotten from people, and so I have to be the bearer of the bad news, and I'm sorry to have to do that. It doesn't bother me personally, but it bothers other people. So I hope you can understand that. The Midrash Sifrei understands the analogy of the Torah, which is compared to rain, in a slightly different way. Here's what Moses has said. Let my teaching drop as rain. Just as the rain is one thing, yet it falls on trees, enabling each to produce tasty fruit according to the kind of tree it is, the vine in its way, the olive tree in its way, and the date palm in its way. So the Torah is one, yet its words yield scripture, Mishnah, laws, and lore. Like showers on new grass, just as showers fall upon plants and make them grow, some green, some red, some black, some white. So the words of Torah produce teachers, worthy individuals, sages, the righteous and the pious. The Torah is written in such a way as to yield multiple interpretations of different types, some legal, some poetic, some psychological, and so on. The rain metaphor underlines the fact that it affects each of us differently and differently at different times. As Ben Bog says in the Ethics of the Fathers, turn it over and over again, for all is in it. Ahavat Olam. God's love for us gives us Torah.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amachavta Torah u'mitzvot Chokim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shachbeinu v'gomenu Yameinu nasiach b'chukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך אורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם בלילה. That's it.
And we continue with the Shema.
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
And Carol Lee will lead us in the Ve'ahavta.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha laman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Thank you, Carol Lee.
Oh, you're so welcome. My pleasure.
Our Torah portion ends with Moses' death. Just before, however, Moses climbs atop Mount Nebo to survey the land as God shows him the Israel he will never be allowed to enter. Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt imagines that scene in a poem called Asymptote. Climb the mountain, God said. Look out over the hills and the desert. Here dark spikes of cypress and cedar. There scrub and sand pinked by sunset. This is as close as you get. Your years of service are over. Honestly, the striving was the good part, yearning like a thirsty man for water. Meeting setbacks, sometimes with fury and sometimes with grace. Dreaming of vineyards and groves, each house with an oven of its own. Does it hurt being so near and yet so far? Trust me, I know what I'm doing. If you could live to see what's coming, it would break your heart. The Michamocha preceded this moment when the Israelites left Egypt and walked away into slavery, getting through the Sea of Reeds on dry land.
Mi chamocha boilim Adonai, mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh, nora tehi lo tosef ele, malechutecha rahu banecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe ze'eli. Anu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch la'olam va'ed.
There's quite a lot of midrash reporting Moses' refusal to die. Here is one account. When Moses realized that the decree of death had been sealed against him, he drew a small circle around himself, stood in it, and said, "Master of the universe, I will not budge from here until you void that decree." At the same time, he donned a sackcloth, indeed, wrapped himself in it, strewed ashes upon himself, and persisted in prayer and supplications before the Holy One until heaven and earth, indeed, all things made during the 6 days of creation, were shaken. What did the Holy One do then? He had it proclaimed at every gate of every firmament that Moses' prayer be not accepted, nor brought to God's presence, because the decree concerning him had been sealed. Sad story for a man who gave so much of his life for the people of Israel. We continue with the tefillah.
Adonai sifatai, sifatai tiftach, ovi agid tehi latecha. Adonai sifatai, sifatai tiftach, ovi agid tehi latecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imaot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומשיר ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם, אדוני מחי כל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מחלקי לחיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממיד ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. אהבה רחמים זוכה יצוריו לחיים וברחמים. בנאמנתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, קודשים בכל יום ילוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
And we continue silently. You can read the prayers that I'm going to run through here, or you can just use the words of your heart. And we conclude the tefillah with a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol eil u'b'chol sha'ah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
We take a moment now to think of those in need of healing, whether of body, of mind, or of spirit. We think of congregants and friends and family of congregants: Jonathan Davidson, Brenda Oppenheim, Kenny Hayes, Randy Rubin, Ben Henderson, Les Wilkerson, Rabbi Steve Robbins, Gloria Mangus, Steve Lux, David Kurland, Robin Kurland, Carol and David Altstadt, Jan Judman, Emily Pasquarelli, Julie Lapidus, Irv Richards, Pamela Mangus, Barbara Brandt, David Lietman, Johnny Sikat, Aharon Pincus, Tiffany Ferris. Please add the names of people you're thinking of: Robert Doctor, Robert Helmbrecht, Ozell Walton, uncle of Carl Walton. Sandra Stokely, Mary Parks.
Albrecht Sr., Diana Anderson.
Patty Podner, Ron Jones, Rokio Offstein, Denny Sirota, Roberta Abrams, Amy Morton, Ruth and Sandra Landis. Raul Camacho, Vicky Endres, Jesus Lopez, Kim Coe, June Carpenter. Amy Morton. Okay, please join us in the Misha Baruch, the prayer for healing.
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, 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 and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with the vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mi sheberach avoteinu, mi sheberach imotenu. Hear our prayer, 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 and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
So tonight is Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It means the Sabbath of return. And we read Parashat Ha'azinu, as I mentioned earlier. And part of what we recite as this Torah portion is, remember the days of old, consider the years of the generations. Ask your father and he will tell you, your elders and they will explain to you. So Rabbi Michael Marmer asks, how should we understand the expression, consider the years of the generations? And he tells us that the founder of the Ger Hasidic dynasty, Rabbi Isaac Ner Alter of Rothenburg, interpreted this phrase to mean that every generation brings with it a new aspect of Torah to be learned. And he says, every year, a new interpretation of Torah is created. In every generation and in every age, a new understanding of Torah relevant to that generation is granted from heaven. And the great sages understand Torah according to that which it is necessary to teach to their generation. Usually, we invert that order of interpretation. We usually say, how does the past influence the present? But we are reversing that here and saying, how does the present influence the past? Or how does the present influence our understanding of Torah? So actuality is not seen to be as an interference to the timeless Torah, but rather as a way to get even deeper into Torah, a new aspect of which is revealed every year. And that's what the meaning of the years of the generations is, the new insight that this year offers to the wisdom of the past generations. So I would like to divide us into breakout groups for a few minutes. And I'd like you to consider the question, what have we learned this year that influences how we understand the past? And the past can be our history, the past can be our own personal story, the past can be the Torah. And so I'm going to invite you to join a breakout room in just a moment. So you just have to, when you get the invitation, just agree to go to that room, and we're going to spend about 10 minutes talking about this. Hope you enjoy your conversation. I'd like to see what kinds of insights you folks had, and so please feel free to unmute yourself and share it with other people.
They'll have to unmute themselves, I think.
Yeah, you're gonna have to unmute yourself, but
We were talking about in the binding of Isaac, Abraham and Isaac, that in the Muslim tradition it isn't Isaac.
Yeah.
It's Ishmael. And
okay.
how that story, from two different points of view.
Okay, good. Any other interesting conversations
We were talking about what we learned this year, and then we started, of course, talking about the pandemic and comparing it to the Spanish flu. And we just sort of know, this is David Liepman mentioned this, that even with the Spanish flu, people paid a lot more attention to the people who died in the war, even though more people died from the Spanish flu. And now people are, not paying so much attention to the number of people dying from coronavirus. They're paying attention to a lot of the other things that are going on.
I think for a lot of people, it's abstract, the coronavirus, unless you know someone or you work in the hospital or whatever. It seems like, I can understand why some people think it's not a real thing, because unless you're directly involved, it's this invisible thing.
But every time I go to the store and I see everybody with a mask, I'm involved. I mean, I can see it. Every time I walk out my front door and I have to put a mask on. So it's very real to me, maybe because of my age.
Well, it's real to people who are isolated in their homes, like most of us are. And as we were saying, the VCs, I don't see them on the screen right now. They're probably somewhere. But anyway, the VCs moved to Florida, and they went there without knowing anybody. And as soon as they got there, the pandemic started. And so how do you make friends? They don't have friends there. And that's really hard, to be in a new place. Some of us have been here for a long time and we know people, but we still, you don't see them that often. You can see somebody maybe in your backyard or on a walk, but you can't do much more than that. So it's really, really hard. And
Mine was not seeing significant people in my life, not being able to connect with significant people on a personal level other than on the phone.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Or on Zoom. Yeah.
It's very hard.
I've also noticed that wearing a mask is a social statement, because we're walking down the street, someone's on the far side of the street walking toward us. We get to a certain point and we all put on our mask and wave at each other, and make a comment about it and then move on. We couldn't hit them if we threw a rock.
Yeah.
Okay? But it's a social statement of solidarity, of consideration, of community.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to smile at that person that you pass. That's what drives me up the wall. I mean,
I smile.
in Trader Joe's,
Oh, no.
I like to, a cute kid
No,
goes by, so I want to smile.
I have one of these shields. Yes, and I smile at everybody.
Of course, Carol.
Because they can see me.
What you were talking about, Rick, is the same thing that happens when I'm walking the dog and they're on the other side of the street. We both put on our masks and wave and then keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we rescued another dog, Madison and I.
Oh,
just
what kind of dog?
wanted you to know.
What kind?
Oh, it was some sort of a lab, and we found the owner.
Oh.
It jumped the fence and swam in our neighbor's pool, and neighborhood watch people connected on it. So we found the owner. Adorable dog, but. So I guess you could say that rescuing dogs was a big thing for us this year.
Absolutely, yeah.
How many did you rescue?
This is the second one.
Oh, good for you.
I think one of the things we're realizing is how important people are in our lives, right? That, we took it for granted before, right? You just hang out with people or hug people or whatever. And now we're saying, whoa, wish we could do that again. So it's a way to really appreciate people and the fact that we're social animals, so to speak. So speaking of people, there are a lot of hungry people in our community, and there is a high holiday food drive, which Eileen has organized, and it's a virtual food drive. So in other words, you have to either send a check or click a link, and there was a special email that went out this week about that. If you want more information, you can always contact the office and get the links or the addresses. And we urge you to think about people who are hungry. Eileen said that in LA, there were like 2-mile-long lines of people waiting for food. It's a really tough time. That's another thing. The economy is in bad shape right now. And there are a lot of people who are hungry. So please, and Mike VC said that his rabbi suggested that if you go to the store and you buy yourself a can of soup, buy an extra one. Now we're not collecting food so much, although Eileen has offered to go and bring stuff. But I think it's better to do it virtually, and it's safer, cleaner, healthier, and doesn't put as much of a burden on Eileen. And we appreciate the fact that Eileen is always making sure that we think of those who are needy out there.
I sent a check.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sure many of you have. So we're going to continue with the Sefer Chaim, because at this time of year, we are hoping to be written into the Book of Life. The Sefer Chaim means in the Book of Life. And this is kind of the metaphor. It is certainly not a real thing that God is sitting there going, I'm going to put you in the Book of Life or death. But we do know that over the next year, some people are not going to be here. Hopefully none of the people on this call. So Jory, please share that with us. Thank you. And of course, once again, thank you to Jory and Morris, first of all, for the production of these beautiful songs and videos, and to all our singers, Cantor Bob and Barbara and Rena and Elliot Levine and Amy Litt and Cantor Bob's nephew, Jason, and the Orenses, Jim and Marilyn Orens. I think that's everybody that was on that.
Lisa Johnson.
Lisa Johnson, yes, thank you. Just really beautiful songs and prayers. We're going to continue with the Aleinu, which is a special Aleinu as well.
Aleinu.
Aleinu.
Aleinu. Aleinu. Aleinu. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה לעושה בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו הורים, ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומשה גבו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס עולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום בהשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל
Bayom hahu, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad.
And of course, in addition to their video and audio prowess, Morris Maduro has a gorgeous voice, and Dori Yarmoff has a wonderful way of playing guitar, drums. I don't know what else he was playing. He plays like several instruments all at the same time,
Keyboard.
which is amazing. Just splits himself into many pieces. Is there another instrument that I forgot?
Keyboard.
Keyboard, right, keyboard.
Yeah. Bass.
Bass. 5 different, persona. So we are very grateful. We're very, very fortunate. We take a moment now to think of those who are no longer with us. May their memories be for a blessing. Of course, we mentioned Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who passed away last week. We're observing Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, for Mardell Taylor, for Jeff White, brother of Sandy Friedman, for Ollie B. Hayes, uncle of Kenny Hayes. Is anyone in the first 30 days of the first year of mourning? And if you'd like to mention a name, you can unmute or put it in the chat. Susan Jones.
Lorna Copel.
Tom Johnson. Mike Sokolow. Arnie Geller. Adele Lucas, Gary Ferris. Martha Goldberger. Gordon Bone, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Jobin Ellie Broach, Paul Aaron Lewin. Kalik Diaz, Reverend Jane Carl, Elaine Marcus, Dr. Bob Levy, Reverend Rager, Ben Saludaris. Joel Blaine. Joel Zephyrin, Goel Zephyrin. And we're observing yard sites this Shabbat for Gerard Loeb, Fanny Aronovitz, Miriam Lapidus, Nathan Falk, Irving Jaspin, Myrna S. Jaspin, Tilly Falk, Joseph Lask, Frank Dahlia Jr., Arnold Farber, Wolf Ice, Steve Grobard, Sanford Dick, Nissim Gershon, Nathaniel Winston, Harry Maxman, Solomon Isaacs Aarons, Anna R. Figeton, Jonathan Charkow, Beverly Schur, Anna Maslowski, Joan Bradley Clapham, Grace Brill, Rose Cohen, Rose Weinberg, Meyer Levitt, Sarah Chernak, Coleman Horowitz, Ann Mursky. Is anyone else observing a yard site? Alice Silverman, Reinhard Lesser, now, I usually ask people to unmute themselves for the Mourner's Kaddish, but some people have said that that is distracting.
Okay.
So I don't know how you all feel about it.
I would like to say it.
You want to say it out loud?
Yep.
All right, so we'll do that for Shabbat. I think for high holidays, maybe again, there are too many people, but let's unmute ourselves for Shabbat and say the Mourner's Kaddish together, okay? Yitgadal, B'Kadash, Rabah.
Rabah.
Yamlichon, Yomechon, Israel, Agalah, Man Kari, Hey, Chaim Aleinu V'Yamdu Yisrael. Shalom B'Yomam. Huya Aseh Shalom. Aleinu V'Yamdu Yisrael. Amen. The source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say,
Amen.
Amen. So, yes, it's very hard to make everybody happy. And I thought it was meaningful for people to say the mourner's cottage out loud, and then some people said it was annoying. So, anyhow, the people who said it was annoying don't come to Shabbat services. So we're going to continue to do it, okay? Yeah. So we conclude with a good year, Lashana Tova.
Tikatevu. Lishana Tova Tikatevu. Lishana Tova Tikatevu. 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 Lishana Tova Tikatevu. Lishana Tova Tikatevu. 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 With the doggy.
What's the dog's name again?
Buddy.
Yeah, that's right, Buddy.
Happy New Year, Buddy. It's the cutest dog ever, except for mine.
Motzi time. Motzi
time.
And by the way, I have some motzi. Believe it or not, I remember.
Motzi, and where are you? I can't see you.
I'm over here. I know. Am I being spotlighted, Jory?
There you are. Now you are.
It's a nice little challah muffin. Challah muffin, like the little dog.
Okay. You
Okay,
ready?
Joey, go for it. Lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
My dog would never let me do that to him. That is a nice little dog. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. If people want to hang out a bit.
It was good. It's very good.
Okay, Irv, let's see. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, if you want to hang out, please do. We can chat a bit. You can unmute yourselves. You can start chatting with each other. Feel free.
We have an echo with the rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Everybody unmuted.
Fatima Tova.
Yes, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
And
Happy
happy
Shabbat Tova to everybody.
Yes.
Everybody,
and Shabbat Shalom.
Sunday.
Oh, that's a good picture.
See you